In this unit we will understand different costs related to construction. Introduction to cost. Cost is one of the fundamental attributes associated with performance, other being time and quality, also basic resources like material, manpower that are needed to perform an activity or create an asset makes up cost. Structure of cost. In order to understand the total costs of an activity, the costs elements can be sorted into direct, indirect, variable, and fixed costs. Direct cost. These costs involves resources that are spent to exclusively complete the activity. Some for example of direct cost are costs related to equipment, labor and material. Indirect costs. These are the costs that is involved in resources that are spent to support the activity, and it is also associated with other activities and assets. Example of indirect costs is like site utilities cost, supervisors, housing, office expenses, and first aid facility. Variable costs are the costs that change in proportion to the good or service that a business produces. It can be direct or indirect. Example are the costs that vary for cement, steel, bricks, aggregate. Fixed cost are cost that does not change with an increase or decrease in the amount of goods or services produced or sold. It is an expenses that have to be paid by a company, independent of any business activity. For example staff salary, utilities, rent and insurance. Cost elements can also be sorted into different types of cost like material costs, labor cost, equipment's cost, and other overhead cost. Material cost. Material cost include different cost like 1. Raw material. This materials utilized in a production process that require a minimum amount of processing to be useful. For example natural gravels. 2. For this the steel product can be considered to be a bulk material because it can be used in various forms, like reinforcement, cement, structural steel. 3. Fabricated materials. It is when bulk materials are transformed into custom-fit items. For example tanks, pump kits and etc. equipment are called fabricated material. 4. Engineered or design material. It is when many components and subcomponents end with a completed product. Now let us understand labor cost. They are classified as 1. Direct labor. It includes the labor that work on activities that directly produce the product or complete installation of building. 2. Indirect labor are the labor needed for activities that do not become part of the final installation, product, or goods produced, but that are required to complete the project. 3. Overhead labor. These are the labors inherent in the performing a task such as engineering, construction, operating, or manufacturing, which cannot be charged to or identified with a part of the work. Labor rate component. It includes base wages, which consists of amount that will go directly to the employee. Labor usually paid on an hourly basis. Supervision, support staff, and engineering often are paid on a weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly rate. Base wages are usually calculated on a per hour basis. Paid time off, also termed as PTO, is when employees have additional benefits of time off like leaves, holiday, etc., and companies transfer this money to special fund to be used when an employee takes paid time off. Medical and life insurance benefits. It is when some firms and labor contracts include contributions to a medical and life insurance program. This costs can be calculated on an hourly, weekly, hour work cost. Government-mandated benefits. These benefits include such items as government retirement funds, unemployment insurance, and retirement healthcare insurance. Different types of economic costs are opportunity costs. It represents the foregone benefit by choosing one alternative over another. Similarly, other economic decisions need to consider foregone benefits for an accurate analysis. Book costs. It is the value at which the asset is carried on a balance sheet and calculated by taking the cost of an asset minus the accumulated depreciation. It can be calculated as book value equals total assets minus intangible assets minus liabilities. Sunk costs. It represent funds already spent by virtue of past decisions. Since these expenditures are in the past, by definition, they should not influence current decisions. Incremental costs. It is increase in total costs resulting from an increase in production or other activity. Inflation. It is a rise in the price level of a good or service. Deflation. Be opposite of inflation with a fall in the general price level for goods and services. The table shows the difference between cost and price. The sum of materials plus labor plus overhead cost is termed as cost, while sum of total cost plus profit is called final price.